Time went by, never heard anything back about it. I was kind of bummed because I spent a lot of time making it. And then I went over to their house, years later, and I found the tape.
Mm.
And I knew when I saw it, I'm like, this has never been played, just because of like where it was. It was like obviously, neglected.
Did you
And
take it?
welcome to Play Record, episode 1. Whether you're here for the music, the memories, or the emotional damage caused by one awesome or devastating mixtape. I'm Tyler.
I'm Jessica.
And we're going to get started. This episode is our musical background, our musical origin story, the people that shaped us, and the playlists that defined our youth.
If you're here for the first time, make sure you leave a comment below and let us know what you thought, if you have strong opinions or want to add anything about your musical memories.
If you hate any of the songs that we talk about, that's fine, because we probably hate them now too.
Not all of them.
All right, so today we're going to cover our earliest musical memories. These include the first albums that we purchased, probably tapes, CDs, and the role that different forms of musical consumption played early on in our lives. We both were brought up in the 80s and the 90s, so we have seen mixtapes from the cassette to the CD to the MP3 downloaded playlist onto an iPod to the streaming playlist that you can share so easily now. We've been through it all. So we're going to take you back to the very beginning for us and kind of talk you through what sent us down this journey of mixtapes. And I guess to do that, we'll begin with our first albums.
Yeah. I guess for me, then the first album that I can't even take full credit because I had an older brother and sister. So I was like kind of just along for the ride at that point because I was pretty young.
And I'm the opposite. I'm the oldest. You're the youngest.
Yeah, I'm the youngest out of 3. So when I was, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7, my dad bought a 6-disc changer, and the 3 of us, brother, sister, and I, with my dad, got to go to the record store. I mean, it was like an electronics store actually, but they sold music back then. So he bought a 6-disc changer, and he picked a few CDs, and he let us pick a few CDs. So my sister and I picked Debbie Gibson, Electric Youth, which, if you don't know who Debbie Gibson was, she was like a big pop star. Not like Britney Spears big, but
way cleaner,
kind of maybe, like, I hate to say it, but probably like a one-hit wonder sort of. She had the song Electric Youth that was like just a banger. And so we picked that, and we picked a Belinda Carlisle solo album, which is awesome. And that my dad picked stuff like Fine Young Cannibals and Depeche Mode Violator, which was really cool. And then some other like not cool to a kid stuff like Tangerine Dream and Yanni. But that was my first like foray into going to a store where we were like picking music and really excited about picking music.
I think I would only take Yanni out of that list of like just blatantly bad dad picks. I mean, all the other 3, Tangerine Dream and Depeche Mode and Fine Young Cannibals.
No, those are good.
They
those
all
are good.
had
Tangerine
some credibility.
Dream, I mean, there's a time and a place for it, I suppose.
I knew a guy who loved Tangerine Dream. He was a strange person, but like they spoke to a group of people, and I can respect that. So,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Your dad and my dad were decades apart. If my dad would have taken me to do that same task, it would have been Elvis. It would have been really early Beach Boys. It would have been Ricky Nelson.
You mean decades apart in their music?
Their musical taste. Yeah. He was all solid gold oldies all the time.
Yeah. Which is also good.
Yeah,
in a different way.
I hold on to that. I think a lot of that like 50s doo-wop stuff really informed a lot of my interest later on in like rockabilly and punk music. There's plenty of carryover there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know that I can remember the first time I went to a record store with my parents and bought CDs, but I do remember one album in particular that I was involved in the choice for, and it was I think it was one of those scratch off Columbia House things, or the way you would get the stamps and you'd like put the stamps for the
albums. Talk a little bit about that for the folks who have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, Columbia House. So there was to me as a kid, I just thought it was just this unreal opportunity. You would get a giant fold out piece of paper and it would have like 100 records on it. A lot of them would be like popular albums of the day, some oldies, and then some compilations on there. And you'd have a book of stamps, and you would get a certain amount of stamps that you could put on those records, and each one would cost either a penny
I
or
think it was like if you bought a certain amount, then you'd get some for a penny, but they were really just
no. What
calculating the
happened is you
cost.
could buy, you would get them all for a penny, but you had to subscribe to
But then you
Columbia
had to pay
House
$70 a month
for
to do it.
for a year at least.
Yeah.
So my mom got this and she just let me go. And I
Which is
remember,
amazing.
yeah, the album that I picked was Freedom Rock, and the reason that I picked that album was because of the song Turn 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 by the Byrds.
I love that song.
Yeah, and I only listened to that song. I think there was a Creedence song on there that I didn't like at the time, but now I do like. I think it was Fortunate Son. But yeah, I just listened to Turn 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 by the Byrds. It was the first song on the. It was a 2 disc album.
And how old were you at this point?
So that was a CD. So I must have been 10 or 11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
not like super young. I mean,
yeah.
it's young, but not like a little kid.
Yeah, I mean there were tapes and things before that, but I don't remember really being involved in the purchasing of those tapes. So yeah, that Freedom Rock album was the one where I feel like I put that stamp on there and I'm like, yep, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess my brother bought a lot of music, but he was 5 years older than me. So he was playing a lot of playing a lot of what he liked. And we listened to it and we liked it, but we liked it because he liked it. But it was stuff like Madonna and Paula Abdul, Janet Jackson. So it was fun for any kid, I'm sure, at
Yeah,
that
those are
time
all
to
fun.
listen to that stuff like Paula Abdul, Forever Your Girl, which was such a fun album and so many good videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely not picking music on my own until much later.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, the first album, and this goes, I think this is even before. I don't know if it was before the Freedom Rock, but the first there's a tape that I ever picked on my own was a casingle, which is a
Casingle.
casingle.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever, I
You
mean,
use the
maybe
term
I've heard that, but I
casingle.
don't think I've ever said that before.
I'm I'm really digging deep here for this one. There's somebody out there who's going to appreciate that amount of credibility.
Right. I called it that too.
Yeah. So singles, cassette tapes that were singles. So you'd have like an A side and the B side, maybe 2 songs on the A side and 1 song on the B side. But there was like what you were buying it for 1 song, really. And the one thing that would separate a single from like the full length album was that singles usually came in a cardboard sleeve.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I bought Mama Said Knock You Out. Mama Said Knock You Out by LL Cool J because I loved 80s rap back when I was in elementary school. I loved that song. I loved his voice. It sounded just like a really aggressive robot rapper. I don't know. His voice has. I still feel like his voice holds up. Like I will go to the mattresses for LL Cool J's Radio, and even Mama Said Knock You Out is a pretty good song. And then I also bought All Around the World by Digital Underground.
Oh, okay.
Remember
Wait,
that
how
one?
does that go?
All around the world, same song. All around the world. All around the world. Yeah.
I don't know if maybe if I heard.
If you ever saw the movie Nothing But Trouble with Chevy Chase,
No.
Digital Underground makes a cameo in that movie, and they sing this song so that they don't get killed by Dan Aykroyd, who plays a crazy mayor.
Oh, I know the movie,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
don't
So those.
know that connection.
Oh, you missed out. But yeah, I got those 2 singles, and I was off and running. How about you?
So I never bought music on my own until way later. I do remember maybe in like 7th grade when The Lion King came out. Maybe I think it was 7th grade. My mom bought me this single for Elton John's Can You Feel the Love Tonight? And I can still picture it. It was like a little blue cardboard sleeve and it had the movie poster on it. It probably singles cost like $2. I will say one cool thing about singles is that sometimes they had a song on the B side that was not on the album.
And if you didn't have the single, then you were never going to get that song.
Exactly. So I didn't learn this until like high school. But I remember buying singles and like looking for them, and sometimes it was really hard to find. And of course, we did not have the internet back then, so you couldn't just order it online or go to
No,
ebay.com. Like eBay was not a thing yet.
no, you have to
So
work.
yeah, and so it would be mean going to different record shops and sifting through things. And if you were lucky, you would find it, and you would yeah get some songs or even like covers or live versions of songs.
Yes, or a demo version.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
was pretty cool.
yeah.
But the first CD, because the first time I bought music for myself with my own money, it was a CD. And it was Tori Amos, Boys for Pele. And if any of you are familiar with that album, you've probably looked at the liner notes. And there's a photo of her breastfeeding a pig, or at least like there's a pig on
Yeah.
her teeth. um and my
We'll post that somewhere so you can see it if you don't want to do this on your own.
yeah, my mom, my grandma, sister, and I had gone to church, and then after church we went somewhere, and I bought this album, and I remember opening it in the car. I was sitting shotgun, and I was flipping through the liner notes, and I saw that picture, and my mom saw it at the same time and was like, what is this? What are you listening to? And I was like, you don't understand, Mom. But on the inside, I was terrified, and I was like, I don't know what this is
Yeah,
either.
you don't know what world you're getting
Yeah.
into. Yeah.
But I ended up taking it home, listening to it, and it's like still one of my favorite albums of all time. And she's one of my favorite artists, or is my favorite artist of all time to this day. So it was obviously a good choice.
Yeah. Listen, people, we could play a drinking game, or we might eventually get some sort of like bell that we ring whenever for it's going to be Tori Amos for Jess. You're going to find out who mine are. They're coming. But you're going to hear a lot about Tori Amos today and on and on and on, which is great. She introduced Tori Amos to me. So in a way, she's kind of like my mentor when it comes to Tori Amos appreciation, but definitely not going to be a stranger on this podcast. But you know what you were saying about that moment of realizing that you are maybe in too deep or in deeper than you want to be, but you're still kind of gonna, peel through the branches a little bit more. I felt that so many times throughout my early teen years with music, where I knew I wanted to try it, but I really didn't know what I was getting into. The first CD, it was also a CD for me that I bought with my own money, was Core by Stone Temple Pilots. Also alternative era, very dark and gloomy album. And also went to the record store. My sister was in the car. My mom was in the car. But I went in by myself to a Warehouse Records, doesn't exist anymore, and just told my parents, like, wait in the car, we'll be right back. So I went in. I knew I wanted this CD because I had an older cousin who I'll talk about in a little bit, who was a big influence on me, and I'd listened to Stone Temple Pilots with him. He kind of introduced me, and I was like, I gotta have it for myself. It was so interesting, so I bought it, came back into the car. And mom's like, what'd you get? I'm like, oh, they're called the Stone Temple Pilots. And she's like, what kind of music is it? And I'm like, it's rock and roll, which should suffice. But my younger sister took the CD from the seat next to me and was like reading the track list. The first song of the album is called Dead and Bloated. And she reads it out loud to my mom. And my mom's like, what? Tyler? And I was like, oh my God, you're blowing my cover. So I had to kind of like talk down my parents into going along with it. But I could tell my mom was like, all right, you do what you want to do. And she, for the most part, was always like that with music. Like there were a couple things where parental advisory stickers, they got in the way, but I felt like they were pretty open to that. They let me go down some pretty strange musical pathways. So I really appreciate them for that. But Stone Temple Pilots was a first for me, and I definitely felt that where am I going when I was listening to that.
So how did you know about Stone Temple Pilots? Like, where did you hear? Like, did you hear a single first, or did you just hear of the band? Like, what compelled you to buy that? And it sounds like you knew what you were like. You got out of the car to go by that specific
Yeah.
album. So you were on a mission.
Yeah.
What compelled you to pick that?
Yeah, my cousin, my older cousin Kevin, he was about 10 years older than me, and it started when I was sixth grade, going into seventh grade, that he started sharing Beck, Mellow Gold, Stone Temple Pilots, Core, Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 2, and we were listening to, yeah, I think Dead and Bloated, clearly a song that stands out to me, but um, Plush was another song that I really latched onto, and
So
just
you had heard those songs
I
before
had heard
knowing
them,
about the album.
yes, and like the incubator for me, as I think back, was his car. He had a Honda Civic hatchback that was super small, that he had invested close to as much money as the value of the car in his sound
Right,
system,
yeah.
and we listened to all kinds of great alternative music really loud, and I felt like being in that car listening to that music, it was escape. Like it was a world that my parents, I mean, they didn't want me to be in, but I was kind of free in that place to listen to music, and kind of go down these imaginative pathways of like, wow, this is where I want to explore next. So
And you were
yeah,
like, you said like seventh grade?
I think it was seventh grade.
And
Yes.
then did you have friends who were also listening to the same music?
Yeah. So I felt like in middle school for us in the early 90s, you had your alternative music that was becoming more mainstream. Bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Smashing Pumpkins. These bands had major record labels, so they were really popular, and we knew about them. And the other side, or maybe like another side, was some R&B music that was also mainstream and getting more and more popular. And then you also had rap music, especially like West Coast gangster rap, East Coast rap music, and they were all kind of rising to the mainstream. It kind of felt like around the same time. And so, and we all liked all of it, but I feel like people gravitated more towards one side than the other. Like I remember my seventh grade Christmas getting, I think it was Pearl Jam. It was a Pearl Jam album I got for Christmas. And then my buddy, he got, I think it was Warren G. He bought the album
Hmm.
that had Regulator on it. This might have been
Great
eighth grade.
album.
Yeah, great album. And we got back from Christmas break and we swapped, and because we were
Oh,
like, oh
that's
yeah, I
cool.
like yours, you like mine. Here, listen to this a little bit. And so like we kind of related, and I don't know if we really like branched off in two different directions, but friends, yeah, they shared their kind of like excursions into hip hop and or alternative music. So I think it was a lot of sharing. It wasn't necessarily like one person that I knew who was like way ahead of the time. There were a couple of kids who were in bands, and they seemed to be kind of at the fore. But for the most part, yeah, we kind of just had this like sharing of CDs. How about you? Who were those kids that were maybe like pushing things forward or influencing you?
Yeah, I had friends for sure, a couple friends who seemed like one was not quite an only child, but maybe the only child in her home at the time. And she seemed like she was always discovering new music. And it was a lot of female artists or bands like Frente, and she loved Hole. Of course, I feel like everyone loved Hole.
Yeah, they were great.
And Juliana Hatsfield. And that was definitely a core memory of hanging out in her bedroom and listening to different albums. And then another friend whose older sister would, I don't know if she was like actively sharing her music with my friend, but she was overhearing it. So I think things like the Cranberries, that was really big. Tori Amos also. So that definitely like trickled down into our world.
Hmm.
And then magazines like I subscribed to Spin magazine, and I would learn about bands that way. I would just read a blurb about someone and think, oh, that sounds kind of cool. I'm going to go look for that album. And it's really interesting because, again, like pre-internet, that you couldn't just listen to a song. And these also were not mainstream, so they were not being played on the radio. So I just would like read something, it sounded cool, and I would go buy the whole album. And um, the ones that stick out are like Sibo Motto, P Shy, and like P Shy, for example, I just looked them up on Spotify, and they made an album in 1998, and that's the only thing on Spotify. But the album that I bought was like maybe 95 or 96. So really interesting that you just, I don't know if you can find their earlier
Yeah.
music,
Mhm.
but I actually still have the physical CD and I have it on my iPod. So I listened to it, like I listened to it yesterday. So yeah, Spin magazine was really good. They would write about music that wasn't so mainstream. So it was such a cool way to discover artists. Whereas Rolling Stone was obviously around
Yeah.
forever, but they were, I would say, I mean, they probably did a good mix, but I think as a teen, as a kid, at that time, I saw Rolling Stone as seeming way more mainstream, and Spin was
Yeah.
kind of like the cool, more like edgy magazines.
Yeah. And I think with Rolling Stone, you were like heavy on the rock journalism, so you were getting as much rock and roll think pieces as you were getting like new records and interesting little tidbits about bands. I think Spin covered more ground, and definitely covered
Mhm.
more ground into up and coming bands. Yeah, I think that that was an interesting distinction between those two publications. And I mean, there were other ones too, but I remember Spin and Rolling Stone being the big ones. I also learned how to play guitar, or like was learning how to play guitar during that point. So, Guitar World magazine, you'd have
Mm.
popular songs in there, and then they'd have like an ad for an album in there, and a little bit of like light musical um, journalism. So like, I got that too. I don't think I ever really got onto anything really cool from Guitar Player magazine, because they just seem to have like the ads were always for these like really guitar heavy bands, which were good, but they just were kind of, if you were a guitar person, you're going to like this, but if you just like music, it might be going down too narrow of a pathway. And I bought a couple of records because I saw ads for them in Guitar Player magazine, and then was like, this is not for me. There was a band called Paw, and the album looked like a bunch of like cowboys in Montana and like a cold winter, and they're on their horses and their big dusters. For some reason, I thought it looked cool, and they had all these like neat little slugs about like what the album's about, and it made it sound like it was really awesome. And I got it, and I'm like, this is just, it's like really heavy guitar stuff, not very not very exciting. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna go to Guitar Player for my musical taste anymore.
Huh,
Yeah.
yeah. Tell me about like making mixtapes for the first time, or even like we talked about recording music from the radio onto a tape, which was like a
Yeah.
big thing. And that's kind of how, if you did want like a quote unquote single, or to be able to listen to a song without buying the album, you would listen to the radio, wait for the song to come on, and hit record on your boombox and record the song onto a tape. And that's how you would make your own mixtapes of kind of like favorite
Super
songs.
analog for sure. I think this is definitely a step back, because I started making mixtapes on tapes in elementary school. I remember sharing them in the fourth grade, and then in the fifth grade, and then on and on and on with kids, and then getting them in the fourth and fifth grade from kids. And that was a major way that I learned about music. Like, since some of it, like the Lion King album, I remember a couple of people putting Aladdin songs on
Oh, wow.
mixtapes for me. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I love that song from Aladdin, and I remember singing that song when we were riding the bus to school. And so there was like, yeah, Disney music. We're like in fourth grade, but there were a lot of friends who did this, and yeah, so you would get this mixtape from somebody, and then you had this responsibility. It's like, okay, well, now I got to make one for you. So yeah, we got our first boombox that had a dual tape deck player. So from the dual tape deck player, you could record from a tape to another tape, and that was one of the ways you did it. I had this tape. I'm gonna record on this other blank tape. I hit play record, and I record this one track onto a blank tape that I'm going to give you. But maybe I also want to like take some songs I find on the radio. So I think it was like fourth and fifth grade that I was really starting to identify the radio stations that I cared about. Like, I knew my parents' radio stations, the oldies station, I knew the country western station. But when I got my own boombox in fifth grade that I could keep in my room, then I learned, in Las Vegas, it was Power 97 was the like the more
Oh,
straight,
that's like Power 106 in LA, is like
probably the
what we
same
for
sort
like
of
R
thing.
and B and stuff.
Power 97 was more rap. We also had 98.5, which was a little bit some rap, but R&B. So Power was like more rap. 98.5 was mix of rap and R&B, and then 103.5 The Edge was our alternative station. So once I learned about those stations, and that would have been like late elementary school, then I was in my room and I was listening to the DJs, and the way you had to do it was just wait for them to tell you, okay, coming up this hour we're going to play, Paula Abdul, then we're going to play Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, then we're going to play Arrested Development. And I'm like, oh god, I got to put Walk on the Wild Side by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch on this mixtape, because the first time I listened to it in the middle of the night one time, it scared the hell out of me because somebody gets shot. So you just listen to the radio and you wait for that song to come on, and like boom, play record, and you get this radio recording onto your mixtape. And so I did that a lot for friends, and those mixtapes weren't great because sometimes the person who's DJing didn't tell you what songs were coming up, and so the song you like just started, play record, and you missed the first 10 seconds of the song. So I made some mixtapes for people, and I got some mixtapes for people that had portions of the song cut off just because we couldn't get to our tape decks fast enough to hit record.
Yeah, I was definitely not making tapes in elementary school. I
Oh.
didn't start making tapes until sorry.
What?
I just like you being like, oh, like you were like disappointed
Oh.
and shocked or something. I didn't start doing that until high school. And I do remember making tapes beyond high school, which almost seems late because CDs were such a thing, but
Yeah.
I definitely was still making tapes, still getting tapes from people.
Yeah, making tapes for people who you now forced to find a tape deck so that they could play them.
But I think like at that time, people
People
still had
their
tapes in their cars.
So, yeah, right. Yeah, there's probably some
And
tape
they
deck stereos.
probably had a tape. Like I think that we kind of graduated from tape to tape boom boxes to the boom box at the CD player and a tape
Yeah.
deck. So I think there were ample opportunities to
Yeah, it
play a
seemed like
tape.
those tape deck boom boxes just disappeared at some point. I don't remember when I got rid of mine that had tapes in them, but they were just like, one day I was like, oh, the tape decks are gone.
Yeah, I know. My mom had a 2002 4Runner that she ended up keeping for a really long time.
Oh yeah,
And I
yeah.
loved driving it because you could pop the tape in and it was so fun. Yeah, so I guess that I am recalling a couple of fun exchange situations where like I feel like a lot of tapes, like you'd make them for friends, or I made most tapes, I think, for myself, honestly, like just recording off the radio of songs I liked. But two of the most like fun exchanges that I'm thinking of right now.
Fun as in romantic.
No, like not romantic, like
Okay.
totally platonic.
Totally fine.
So one was the first one was I was at a Tori Amos show, and she would do meet and greets before and after shows. I don't know if she always did that, but she did them for years and ended with COVID. But anyway, I was in line after a show to meet her, and I met this guy in line, and I was telling him how, so backtracking a bit, our local radio station, it was an LA radio station called K Rock, that if you're from California, you know what K Rock is. They would do this annual show during the holidays called K Rock Almost Acoustic Christmas, and Tori Amos performed at this one event, and I went, and they broadcasted the show on the radio station, and my sister, who was home, recorded it for me onto a tape, which I later got digitized, and I still have it,
Cool.
Which is awesome. But anyway, I met this guy in line, and he was telling me how he had gotten really good photos of Tori at a previous meet and greet, and this is back before digital cameras. So this was like on film. And so he had like printed photos. Like we didn't have phones then where he could be like, let me airdrop them or whatever.
Be done with it in 5 seconds.
Yeah. And so he sent me, so I was like, oh, I have this recording where she played at Almost Acoustic Christmas. And for some reason, I don't think he was from California. I want to say he was from like Pennsylvania or somewhere, and he had traveled to see her for the show. And so
What?
we exchanged address. Don't be shocked. That happens a
Well,
lot. Actually, people
there's
travel
got to
to
be a
see
closer
her.
show between Pennsylvania and
Well,
California.
there were some people who would like go to
They're
multiple
like they're
shows.
like deadheads, and
Yeah,
they just
yeah,
follow her
exactly.
around. Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked and we exchanged addresses, and I mailed him a copy of the
The
live
mix.
show, yeah.
Oh,
And then he mailed me printed photos of Tori
that's
that he had
amazing.
taken, and it was so cool. And then I don't think I ever talked to him again,
That's
but we
crazy.
had these amazing relics from previous shows.
Yeah.
Um,
And like the commitment that it takes to like follow through with, oh yeah, I'll send you the tape,
oh
write your
yeah,
address down on a
exactly.
scrap of paper and
Yes.
I'll go home and won't forget it.
Yes, like it takes two people who are like committed
Right.
to
Right.
her and like sharing that kind of stuff, right?
I think it's like a testament to Tori Amos and a testament to people who are like really into musical music history,
Hmm.
music artifacts. Like those people are committed, and
Yeah.
like it's a very niche but strong
Oh yeah.
population. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I hope he still has the tape. If you're out there, leave a
Hmm.
comment.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then the other
Wait, do
one,
you have the photos?
yeah, yeah, I still have the photos.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and they're really cute. It was like her kind of like mid signing or talking to someone, and they're like really close up.
Oh man,
Yeah, it was really
I don't
cool.
think I've ever
Yeah.
seen them.
Yeah, I'll dig them up. Yeah, and then the other thing I'm thinking about is I met this girl one night at a party, and we were talking about music, and she was, I remember she really liked Clap Your Hands Say Yeah, and I didn't know about them at the time. And this was like after high school, but there were a few bands that she liked that I wasn't familiar with, and she was like, "Oh, give me your address again," because this is before the age of like, follow me on Instagram.
Sure.
And so I gave her my address, and she ended up making me two mix CDs, and she made the little like envelopes for the CDs and decorated them, and she like drew on them
Like
and used
the paper
the
envelopes.
sleeves, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, the sleeves. Yeah, she like used like magazine cutouts, and like it was so cool. And I got these two mixes in the mail, and they were full of music that I wasn't
Oh
that
man.
familiar with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just like amazing connections that you can make, even if they're like quick and you don't see that person again, but
Yeah.
like 20 something years later, I'm remembering all this, and that's so neat.
Yeah. Yeah. I think of some later mixes that I got from people, and the ones that I can think of that I still listen to are they were CDs, and I liked it when I got them, but there's a lot of quirky stuff on there that I'm like, yeah, not really my thing. But over the years, like I've like latched onto one more song on there, latched onto one more song on there, and like I remember one mix I got from a girl who was a roommate of mine when I lived in Boston for a while, included the magnetic fields.
Oh yeah. Is
And
that the one that you ended up making me a
I
copy of?
made you a copy of it because like just
Yeah,
it
it's
took a
so
long
good.
time, and eventually like I just became a fan of so many of these like these quirky bands, and magnetic fields is now a band that I really like, and our daughter now really likes it. And I had to give that CD a good 10-20 listens before I started to really latch onto them. And if you're a magnetic fields fan out there and you're like, come on, how did you not instantly know the genius of this
Yeah.
group? Sorry. I wasn't there. I wasn't there when I got it, but I'm here. I'm there now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
What about so I remember getting tapes from people, especially like mainly a crush, like anyone else. It's just you're getting music that you like or
yeah.
that somebody wants you to listen to, but getting a tape from someone and then like decoding meaning and
Hmm.
like listening and kind of maybe agonizing at times, like what did they
All
mean when
lots
they
of agonizing. Yeah,
put this song on there? Yeah, that's
yeah,
so funny. Or if you made a tape for someone else.
yeah. I mean, I think well, I can think of back to the tape days when I was like in elementary school, and I remember one girl that I made a tape for. Um,
In elementary
in
school.
elementary school, and I don't remember exactly what I put on there because I at the time wasn't listening to a lot of like love songs and ballads. That wasn't the kind of thing that spoke to
Yeah.
me. But I do remember putting on there oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the song, but I remember putting on this mix a couple of tracks that had a romantic intent.
Oh my
I can't remember
gosh.
how subtle it was, but she got it and she was like, "Oh, that's cool," and she never mentioned the mix again, and never
Was it
made
Can
any
You Feel the
moves.
Love Tonight by Elton John?
Would have been around that same time
Yeah.
period. Okay, yeah, I remember one of the songs that I put on this tape was Richard Marx. I'll
Oh
be
my
right there
gosh.
waiting for you, and that was not a very
Subtle.
subtle hint that I like this girl, but it was going to be like my like ringer on the tape. I'd like put it in the choice spot,
Oh my
and
gosh.
yeah, she all she ever said was that was cool.
I mean, to be fair, I
She
don't think
ran for
she's
class president, and I told her I voted for her too. So I mean, what else could I have done for this girl to like?
nothing,
Yeah,
absolutely nothing. Oh, that's great. I
yeah,
do remember in sixth grade in our yearbook, we had to, I guess, like fill out a survey for like top movies, top songs of the year. And this was 1992.
hmm
The song, the Whitney Houston song, I Will Always Love
oh,
You, which is a Dolly Parton cover, but it was in
the
the movie The
bodyguard. Yeah,
Bodyguard, and
God, that
that
song
movie
was
was
everywhere.
huge.
Yeah, yeah,
And that song just like propelled that song to the masses. Does that make sense
yeah,
to say it
yeah,
that way?
yeah.
Like Dolly Parton now will talk about it. Like she wrote that song and but like and I think she has even said like Whitney Houston like made that song or changed that song
I
to what
agree.
the way that people recognize it now.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was the song that we picked my sixth grade class as like the top song of the year, which
yeah.
is so funny because I think really like 12-year-olds were listening to that song
Oh
and
man, it was transcendent. I mean, it was such a huge song.
I
I
guess
mean,
so.
it's
I don't
so
actually, I've
good.
never watched that movie.
Oh, well, you could be forgiven for missing it. But as a kid, it wasn't really like a movie that was
Yeah,
speaking
yeah,
to kids. But yeah,
yeah,
the music was good.
yeah. Okay, what about making a tape? So I guess there's this child in sixth grade who did not
Yeah.
recognize the intent of the mix. But what about like, did you ever make a mix for someone and then they just like never acknowledged it? Because I feel like that's like pretty
Yeah.
painful. Like,
Um, yeah. Yeah. I can think of one time in particular, and I made a tape mix, and it took me most of the summer to make it because I was doing other things. But I remember like making this mix over the summer, and I would be like outside doing something, like had the radio on so I could keep track of the DJ saying what songs, because I knew what songs I wanted to put on there. I remember there was a Blues Traveler song that I wanted to be on this mix.
was
So
it like that one really popular?
it was the song Hook. You know,
That's like a
the hook brings you back again.
cussing it.
Why do you make me do this? Oh, God, it's the one that
Is it the one
said,
that's like,
suck it in, suck it in, suck it in, suck it in, if you're
yeah,
in Tintin around Berlin. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So that song was one that I was waiting, and that wasn't the number one single off of the album was not Hook. So like you had to, when Blues Traveler would come on, it was 9 times out of 10 it was going to be a couple other songs before Hook. But so I was listening for Hook. I think it was a Green Day song from Dookie. This is around '94, where I was making this tape, and a lot of them I got it quickly, but I remember the Blues Traveler song took me a long time before I finally got a recording of that. Could have just bought the CD, but I didn't. And so I made the tape and then mailed it to the person, mailed them the tape, and years went by. I kind of forgot to check up and like find out about it. It was an older person. I'm leaving their name off just to avoid any sort of public shaming. But yeah, time went by, never heard anything back about it. I was kind of bummed because I spent a lot of time making it. And then I went over to their house, years later, and I found the tape.
Mm.
And I knew when I saw it, I'm like, this has never been played, just because of like where it was. It was like obviously, neglected.
Did you
And
take it?
I didn't take it only because I wasn't in a position to like surreptitiously grab it and stow it. Like they would have seen me,
Like
and
you didn't have pockets on you or something?
I don't know. I just at the time when I noticed it and was kind of like I had that like cold shiver that goes through you
Oh
where you feel like,
no.
oh,
Oh, that's wait, how
dejected.
old were you when you realized?
Towards the end of high school.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yes, young,
yeah,
impressionable.
yeah. And so I noticed it, and we were together, and I just couldn't like get it out of there without them noticing. And if they noticed, then I feel like they'd have been like, oh man, like he's taking it because I didn't listen to it. He probably put a lot of time into this, and it would have just been an awkward experience. But that was a really that was hard. Um, I don't know. I didn't hold it against them. You know, I think one of the things about making mixes when we're doing this and the people that we were giving them to is that we were all kids. So we made them as kids, we gave them to other kids. So the level of responsibility that these other kids had to take in this like musical artifact that was like straight from your heart and listen to it and give it the time, give it the respect it deserved, it just wasn't there for a
Yeah.
lot of people. So I have some grace for those people who didn't listen to all the mixes.
Yeah. I think like aside from making a mix for a crush where you're like bearing your soul
Mm,
on this mix, you're making them for friends, maybe family or something. And I think that there is something, or at least for me, I would think I wouldn't have made a tape for someone, like a friend who I didn't think would appreciate it.
mhm.
Like I have like some of my best friends to this day 90% sure I'd never made them a mix. Or
Mm,
maybe like I probably made them a mix. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, actually I can think of making a mix for a couple of people, but like I did it knowing they're probably not going to listen to it. They're probably, if they do, they're not really going to appreciate it. Nothing to not to knock them at all, but just like not their taste, or I don't know. So I think that there is something to making it for someone who you know is gonna appreciate it.
yeah.
Unless again, like if it's like a crush and you're just like blindly, just like you're not thinking clearly.
Violating all your like codes of mixtape conduct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I
that's
will
true.
say though, for one of the friends that I just thought of that I'm like, I'm pretty sure I did make her a mix that she never listened to. I co-hosted her engagement party before she got married, and I made the mix for the party, and
Oh,
that was really fun to do. And it's something where you have control of that, and
yes.
she's not like in her car listening to it. It's just
Yeah.
like for her, it was like background, ambiance, whatever. But to me, I was like, oh yeah, that's I picked that song for
We
her.
we need to do an episode that's just about like party mixes or like making
Oh yeah, yeah,
mixes
for
that are
sure.
going to be publicly presented.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so when you were talking about that mix that you made for the person who didn't listen, and you were like, "Oh, I did this and this," let's talk about order of up songs,
Yeah.
because I always have put songs on a mix and just like, I like this song, I like this song, and then it's just whatever
Oh boy.
it comes to me.
Yeah.
Um, maybe like sometimes I would think about the first song and the last song,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like something maybe upbeat or something to ease you in. And then the last song, like something maybe instrumental or just to kind of like close it out. But I didn't realize until later that you are very particular about the order. And like
Yeah.
one of the first mix I ever made him, I had like a Tori Amos song followed by a Rancid song. So it was like something that was really melodic, and then it was like, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that probably was like
I don't
creating
know.
like
Yeah.
whiplash
I
listening.
don't really mind that too much. I
I mean,
think
you do enough to talk. You've brought it up.
well, I guess, I like the idea of, if you got a song that's like riding real high, then to the next song should kind of come down, just because I think you can't keep going up. But I think you might be like into really, high adrenaline music, but you
Mhm.
can't keep serving that to a person over and over. They don't have enough adrenaline to absorb it. So you have to bring them back down so they can take a breath, and then you kind of build it back up. So yeah, I'm not necessarily opposed to some swings in tone throughout the tape. But yeah, I guess I don't know where it comes from, but the numbers 1, 3, 7, and 11 are my like high points of a mix. That's the first, third, seventh, and 11th song. I always feel like that's where I have to put the keystone elements of that mix have to be there, and those four tracks have to kind of in some ways tell a story. And I don't know, it's not from mixtapes that came from. I know it's from like production tapes because I can think of songs that I like Daughter on Pearl Jam Versus was song number 3. That was, really big song that I really liked. Yeah, there's
So is it like songs that you love? Is that how you choose those songs? Or like
the
where
ones
are
that I
you
would put as like one
yeah.
through 7-11, they would be like, yeah, songs I really like the ones that I want to like be indelible for the person. I want to be in those positions. And I think,
Yeah.
you start with a song that really stands out. And we can get into mixtape theory in more episodes. But yeah, like the first song, like you're saying, that's got to stand out for a reason. But then, you don't want them all to be right next to each other because it kind of muddies the water. So
Mhm.
you kind of have to put those ones that are like your choice songs around songs that kind of like lift them up a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah.
It's funny because my sister and I remember years ago would always say, like, why is it that track number 9 is always so good?
Mm,
But it's not part of your formula. But for whatever reason, like
yeah.
out different albums that we liked, the number 9 song was always one of our favorites,
Hmm.
which also reminds me or makes me think how like we don't really think about tracks or like track numbers anymore.
Hmm.
So back when mainly with CDs, because even with tapes you would just like pop a tape in and just like listen.
Yeah, you'd have
But
to get lucky.
with CDs, if you had a boombox or if you were lucky enough, I guess early 90s to have a CD player in your car,
Hmm.
you would like pop it in and then you would just see like, 1, 2, whatever. So you'd be like, oh, number 3, I love number
Yeah,
3. And
yeah,
you would talk about it
yeah.
that
That's
way.
how I was.
Yeah, but now you wouldn't. And now if you're streaming
No.
something, you just kind of have to like look and see what the title of the track is to really
Yeah,
remember.
it's really hard for me to like retrofit that recognition of the track title because I'm so used to the car CD interface where you had the numbers, and I'm terrible with song names because of that, because
Yeah,
of those numbers. But that's such an interesting relic of the CD
I
time
know.
period, and
Yeah.
it was just the CDs, not tapes, yeah,
Yeah.
not vinyl.
Yeah, and I guess, well, with tapes and CDs, you were looking at liner notes a lot too, like buying a new tape. And then I think liner notes got even better with CDs, where artists seem to get more creative with the
Hmm.
photography and or just the design period. But getting a new album and going home and putting it whether like you're popping a tape in or a CD, and then sitting with the liner notes and
Hmm.
just like reading along to the lyrics
Yeah, it
is
was
just
always
like
a
the
real
best, right?
pleasant
I know,
surprise. And
yeah.
then also a disappointment when you open it up, it's just like front and back, nothing in the middle. And you're like,
Oh
oh,
yeah, or no
no
lyrics.
lyrics. Yeah, that's a real shame.
Yeah, where it's
Yeah.
like, what? Like, how dare you?
I know, because that was how you learned lyrics.
Yeah,
Before the internet, you weren't like there was no resource. There wasn't a book you got that had like all the songs of today. Like if you didn't get them from the CD liner notes, you had to have like a friend who had a really good
yeah,
ear and could like break
exactly.
down what was going on. Like I didn't know what the song Yellow Ledbetter was saying.
Nobody did.
Nobody did, and I don't think I can't remember the lyrics to that song now because at the time I never had the lyrics available. I
Yeah,
don't think it was in the single when that album was released, or
yeah,
when
but like
it
one
was.
of the best songs.
Yeah.
Um, so one more Tori Amos anecdote before we wrap it up is that
Are you sure?
she
Are you sure?
no
Uh-huh.
she just released a new album and I bought the vinyl, signed vinyl, and
It's right over there.
um she all the lyrics are in there and I on Spotify the album's available but the lyrics are not available, so you have to go to Reddit to find lyrics because yeah, like there are just
Really?
like amazing fans out there who I guess like I'm
I've already done
imagining that
this.
they bought no, that they probably get the album immediately
Oh,
and
okay.
right away they're transcribing. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know where else they would get them. They're not on her website or anything. So I was looking up
Hmm.
lyrics for some of the new songs and that's how I was finding them. But on Spotify, if you click the little mic
Yeah,
icon, if you're
yeah.
familiar, usually lyrics come up. Anyway, they're not there.
Huh.
So I got this album and I got it in the mail. And so I got it like days after the album was actually released.
Hmm.
But I sat there and I listened and I like went and like read the lyrics because I was like I wanted to experience that. And I think yeah, it's almost like this nostalgic thing at this
Of
point.
going back and doing
Yeah.
that. I just had a really funny thought. So It would be so fun to take like 4 or 5 different AI models and then feed them the song Yellow Ledbetter and then ask them to transcribe it and then
Oh.
and just like say please do not access, like try to like prompt it in a way like do not, just based on what you hear,
Oh, I was gonna say, I
write the
thought you would
lyrics to
just
this
pull
song.
up the actual
Yeah, like you,
lyrics.
I don't
Oh
know how
yeah.
you would like craft that prompt, but
Yeah.
to see who could get closer,
Oh,
or
that's funny.
what could get closer to the actual lyrics of the
Yeah.
song. Let's turn to our mix. So what our plan is every episode is to talk to you guys through a musical topic of interest to us and hopefully you, and then to share a mixtape that we have created on the topic. We won't share the whole mix with you during the episode. We'll give you our 5 top tracks from that mix, and if you want to hear the whole thing or see the whole thing and find those tracks on your own, you can come to our socials and find them there. So for this one, obviously this is our musical origin story, the songs and the people that defined us. So our mixes are kind of defined by those early days. You want to start and give us your 5?
Okay, so my picks are, the first one is She Drives Me Crazy by Fine Young Cannibals. She drives me crazy.
You're welcome.
I can't help myself.
Yep. That's why we're talking about mixtapes and not making music.
When we bought our 6-disc changer,
Living large.
my dad picked that Fine Young Cannibals album, and every time I hear that song, which nowadays 9 out of 10 times, probably when I'm grocery shopping or
And you're
something.
still doing the
Yeah. I that song, I hear it and it takes me back to that day. So that's so cool that music does that,
Absolutely.
first of all. But that is a great album. And yeah, so I thought that that's like one of my earliest musical memories, or at least like one of the most indelible memories. Um, I mentioned that I would read about female, or not just female, but just artists, new artists, bands, and Spin Magazine. But I was, for whatever reason, really always drawn to female vocalists and bands. And the next song that I'm going to put on the mix is Sugar Water by Sibo Mato. And Sibo Mato was
Yeah.
this Japanese duo, 2 women, and so cool, like this like poppy hip hop kind of sound, kooky a little bit in the best way. And they released this album called Viva la Woman back in, I don't know, 95, maybe 96 or so. And don't come at me if I got that wrong, but it's right in that area. And I loved this album, and I still will listen to it every now and then. I actually have this really good mix called Jessica's Teenage Angst that has some of these songs on it that maybe I'll share with you one day. But that song will make an appearance. But this album was all themed around food, and it's just a really fun listen.
You know what I think of when I hear Sibo Mato? It's like it sounds like you're in your room and somebody's singing to you on the crack under the door. That's what
It
it
does.
sounds to me like.
There is like in a lot of the songs, like there's a song called "Shut Up and Eat," and she's yelling, "Shut up and eat," and it sounds like somebody in another room yelling at you.
Yeah. It's very strange.
Yeah.
They're coming at you from
Yeah.
these weird angles.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, what do you got next?
Okay, Dogs of LA by Liz Phair. It's from
that's a banger.
her album Whip Smart. And I love Liz Phair. I still listen to her all the time. We actually got to go to her 30th anniversary tour of Exile in Guyville just a few years ago.
She's still super
And
good, man.
yeah, she's
Looks
always
the
been
same.
so
Amazing.
cool. Very understated, I guess, like
Yeah.
never been mainstream, but she's been making music for ages, and she's just amazing. And Whip Smart, like she has, so I would say I listened to Exile in Guyville, White Chocolate Space Eggs, and Whip Smart, still to this day. Her later albums, I didn't really get into. If you did, I would love to hear about, like, make a case for like why I should keep listening. But and not that I don't want to, I just, for whatever reason, I just didn't really keep up with her.
Yeah.
And anyway, Whip Smart was, I think, the one album that I listened to all the time. And actually, my sister's best friend would take songs from that album and rewrite the lyrics about stuff going on in our lives.
Oh,
Like if I had like a crush on someone or whatever, she would rewrite the lyrics about that person.
huh. I wonder if there's something about Liz Fair that just kind of like
No, she
worked
did it with like
with your life.
Morrissey and
Oh, okay.
Smiths and
Oh,
stuff
that
too.
that seems to
So
fit.
it was just her personality, and we love her for that. But yeah, just such a great album and definitely a big part of my teenage youth. So that song. Um, Cream by Wu-Tang. So little bit of a departure from the like female rock groups, but I loved Wu-Tang from the beginning. I had friends in high school who were really into Wu-Tang and or not just Wu-Tang, sorry, hip hop in general, and they would find these like tapes and bring them to parties and play us different people and we listened to a lot of Wu-Tang and uh yeah, that was just like I don't know. I know we actually went to their like
I don't know what the anniversary was.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I feel like they've done a couple like farewell type tours,
Yeah.
but we just saw them last
35
summer.
years. Something
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
and it was amazing. And
Yeah.
yeah, like at this point, I think Cream is such a classic now. Yeah, and then oh, and I guess like I worked at a skate shop and we listened to a lot of hip hop in the skate shop or we
Yeah.
would play skate videos and at the time skate videos often used hip hop tracks.
Yeah, yeah, that seemed like that was a thing that like skate
Yeah.
videos got onto hip hop music a lot faster than other like alternative sports that had videos like surf videos. It was like punk rock all the time. So skate
Yeah.
videos, they definitely branched
Yeah.
out more quickly.
Yeah, like 411, I remember being one that we played a lot. And yeah, so that was definitely a big part of my high school career. And then lastly, Diamond Sea by Sonic Youth. So Sonic Youth, they'd been around long before I got into like alternative music. And by the time bands like Nirvana came around, Sonic Youth had already been doing what they were doing for years. But I so distinctly remember one morning, my alarm clock was set to K Rock, which is the music station, LA like alternative music. And I woke up to that song, and I remember just laying there listening to it and thinking, like, oh my gosh, what is this? And it was so ethereal,
Yeah.
kind of surreal
Yeah. Yeah,
feeling.
that'll set your day
Yeah,
real quick.
so I definitely will put that track on our mix, and I'm gonna have to find a version that is not 19 and a half minutes long. Or I put it at the very end.
Just stop
Or I
listening.
have Tyler edit me.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I guess you put a 19-minute track on a tape that's not like Fish or a live Grateful Dead show.
Yeah, we can put it last
you're
or
really
something. But I'm sure there's got to be like a radio edit or
yeah,
something out there.
yeah. That's an intentional thing to do.
Mhm.
So I'm fine with that. Okay, cool. All right, so my 5 tracks. I guess I'll start in a similar place as you. Number 1 for me is "Lonesome Town" by Ricky Nelson. My dad is older and grew up in the early years of rock and roll, doo-wop music, Elvis Presley, things like that. And Ricky Nelson was, along with Elvis, who we listened to a lot of, and you can listen to Elvis on your own, but "Lonesome Town" by Ricky Nelson. If you haven't heard this song, it's a really doleful song about people who are tragically lovesick, and so "Lonesome Town" is where you go to cry your troubles away. And it's like that Sonic Youth song. It's just very evocative. It has a strong mood, a strongly atmospheric song. Ricky's voice is just really pretty on the song. And so when I think about a lot of those older songs, a lot of them have that, doo-wop catchiness to it, but "Lonesome Town" is one that just is like a real quiet, dreamy, just departure from a lot of that music out there. It's a song that's been covered by a lot of people. Paul McCartney's covered it. Jerry Garcia's covered it. The Cramps, a great psychobilly band, covered that song too, and they're all really good. And I think it kind of speaks to the fact that the song is just so evocative that a lot of people have gone, okay, like, I want to be a part of this one. So "Lonesome Town" by Ricky Nelson, number 1 for me. Number two, the next I would say progression in my journey would be "Children's Story" by Slick Rick. I was really into '80s rap music in elementary school, and friends made a lot of mixes that included, you know, your young MCs and your Slick Ricks. But I remember "Children's Story." Similarly evocative in that it was kind of a dark song. It's about a kid who makes some bad decisions, somebody gets killed, and so you're just listening to this cautionary tale told by Slick Rick and his like really sharp accented British, you know, vocals. And it was something that I just remember being in my bed at night in Children's Story Beyond, and I'd be like just thinking about this guy who's like running through the alleys. And yeah, love that song for that reason. It kind of felt like my first parental advisory explicit lyrics track song. Like that was probably one that was a little bit too mature for me that I was like sneaking to listen to. Number three, this goes back to the first CD that I purchased, Core by Stone Temple Pilots. First track on there is Dead and Bloated, and it was my first introduction to Stone Temple Pilots. It's just an aggressive song. I learned that Scott Weiland in the vocals that start the song when he's saying, "I am smelling like a rose that somebody gave me on my birthday deathbed," that he's not singing into the mic. He's actually singing into the pickup on the electric guitar, and he wanted to use a megaphone to kind of create that megaphone sound, but in the studio they're like, no, use the pickup. It has that same sort of like a metallic hollow sound to it. So he's actually using the guitar pickup for the vocals at the start of Dead and Bloated, which is just a cool bit of
Yeah, so
trivia there.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of a early alternative track for me that kind of got me going. The next one, my cousin, who was my musical mentor when I was younger, he got me into this British band called Skunk Anansie, hardcore punk alternative, a little bit of like funk in there. This band covered a lot of range, but their second album was called Stoosh, and the song that I would put on this mix is called All I Want, and it is definitely got a strong punk influence, and that's kind of where my heart is. And I just remember listening to that going like, this woman is badass, and I like the fact that she's so uncompromising about saying this is all I want, and just stuck with me. Yeah, so I love that song. Last song, song number five, is probably the band that meant the most to me throughout most of my youth, and that's Rage Against the Machine. And the song is "Killing in the Name of," and that's for most people who got into Rage back in the early '90s, the track that had like the most the most f bombs they'd ever heard in a row. And I remember listening to that song in my cousin's Honda Civic at full blast. And the first time I don't know if it's the first time, but the time that I first remember listening to that song, we're cruising by this Catholic church, and at the end of it, Zach Del Rocha is saying, "F you, I won't do what you tell me," over and over, and the windows are down and it's blaring outside, and I'm like, okay, this is definitely this is like a world that's like calling me in, that's far from my own, and I definitely want to explore this. So that's my number five pick on our mix.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, there we go. That's where we came from, a little bit about who we are, and then we'll continue to share more of that as we go. Yeah, come check out the rest of our mixes. We'll share them with you through Spotify, and yeah, tell us what you think. If you like these songs, if you hate them, that's fine too.
Yeah. Or if there are other bands we didn't talk about that meant a lot to you, for sure leave them in the comments too.
All right. Till next time.
Thanks.